The rain fell mercilessly on the cold, empty streets of New York that night. The kind of rain that washes away footprints, memories, and tears. Ethan Walker sat hunched against a flickering streetlight, his coat soaked through, clutching a torn photograph of his wife and little daughter, the family he'd lost 2 years ago in a car crash that shattered his world. He had once been a successful architect with a house full of laughter and warmth. Now, he was just another face among the forgotten, homeless, hollow, and haunted by the ghost of yesterday. That night, while most hurried under umbrellas or hid inside glowing cafes, a woman stopped for him. She didn't just drop $1 in his cup or give him a pitying look. She knelt down, looked him in the eyes, and offered him something no one had in months: humanity. Her name was Grace. She handed him a cup of hot coffee, a sandwich, and a smile that carried no judgment, no fear, only kindness. She said softly, "You look like someone who just needs a little light." Those words pierced through the fog in Ethan's heart, awakening something long dead: hope. Sparkles, if you believe kindness can still change the world, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to MJ Kindness Moments. Let's spread stories that remind us what it means to be human. Sparkles. For days afterward, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about her. Every evening she appeared, quietly offering food, warmth, and sometimes, silent company. She never asked for his past, never pushed him to talk, and somehow, that made him want to speak even more. She brought a small blanket one night, told him she worked nearby, and before leaving, she whispered, "You'll be okay. I can feel it." Those words became his anchor. A week later, when she didn't show up, Ethan felt a strange emptiness, an ache that surprised him. He told himself she probably had work, or maybe the weather was too rough. But when days turned into a week and she never returned, something inside him stirred. Gratitude? Worry? Maybe both. Grace had shown him more care in a few nights than most people had in years, and he couldn't just let that vanish. So, with trembling resolve and what little strength he had, Ethan decided to find her. He remembered the direction she used to come from, near a bakery on 7th Avenue. He had nothing but a few coins in his pocket, worn shoes, and determination. Each step was slow, painful. The city looked different when you were looking for someone instead of surviving it. He asked around, the bakery owner, a janitor sweeping the corner, a flower vendor. No one knew a Grace. Then, one elderly woman selling scarves mentioned softly, "There's a Grace who volunteers at the shelter 3 blocks down. Always helping folks like you." Ethan's heart quickened. He followed the trail. The shelter was small, old, with faded blue paint and a sign that read Hope Haven. Inside, the scent of soup and soap filled the air. He stood in the doorway, watching volunteers move like angels, laughing, serving, comforting. And then, there she was. Grace. Wearing an oversized sweater, her hair tied back, handing out food with that same gentle smile that had saved him. But something was off. Her movements were slower, her smile weaker. When she turned to grab something, Ethan saw a hospital bracelet still around her wrist. She looked pale. Fragile. But still radiant in her kindness. Ethan didn't approach her that day. He couldn't. He just stood there, unseen, his eyes welling with tears. The woman who had helped him, needed help herself. The next day, he returned, hiding near the alley behind the shelter, watching as she left in the evening. She didn't go home to some fancy apartment as he had imagined. Instead, she walked 2 streets over and entered an old building with a sign that read St. Agnes Community Hospice. Ethan froze. Hospice. He felt his chest tighten as reality hit. Grace wasn't just volunteering, she was living there. Dying there. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay under the same streetlight where she had first found him, the rain whispering secrets only he could hear. "Why her?" he muttered. "She saved me, and she's the one fading." The next morning, he cleaned himself as best he could at a public restroom, combed his hair, and walked to the hospice. He didn't know what he'd say, or even if she'd remember him. But he had to see her. When he entered the hospice, the nurse at the front desk looked at his worn clothes with hesitation. I'm here to see Grace, he said quietly. Grace, the volunteer. The nurse's expression softened instantly. Room 12, she said gently. She'll be happy to see you. He walked slowly down the hallway, the air heavy with the scent of medicine and fading time. When he reached her room, he stopped at the door. Grace was sitting by the window, a thin blanket over her knees, sunlight pouring over her tired face. She looked like a portrait painted by sorrow and peace together. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. She turned, her eyes widening in recognition, then softening with that same tender warmth. Ethan, she whispered. He couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears fell freely. You helped me when I had nothing. You brought me back from the edge. And now, he couldn't finish. Grace smiled faintly. And now you're standing again, she said softly. That's all I ever wanted to see. He sat beside her, speechless. She reached out her frail hand and placed it over his. Her touch was weak, but filled with the same strength that had once pulled him out of darkness. I have cancer, she said simply. Stage 4. It's spreading fast. But I'm not sad, Ethan. Not really. I've seen too many people lose everything, hope, love, faith, and I promised myself I'd keep giving it while I still could. He wanted to scream, to bargain with God, to do anything. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why help others when you needed help yourself? She looked out the window, watching a group of children playing in the garden. Because, she whispered, kindness doesn't wait until we're okay. Sometimes, it's the only thing keeping us alive. Ethan spent hours that day just listening, to her stories, her laughter, her quiet dreams she knew she'd never live to see. Every word she spoke became a piece of him. When he left that evening, the world looked different, brighter, yet heavier. He promised himself he'd return the next day. But when he did, the nurse met him with tears in her eyes. Grace had passed away that night. Peacefully, they said. With a smile. Ethan stood frozen. The hallway seemed to close in around him. He walked into her room, now empty except for a small notebook on her bedside table. His trembling hands opened it. On the first page was his name, Ethan. Inside were pages filled with small notes, things she had written about him. He's hurting, but kind. He'll make it through. I see light in him, maybe one day he'll pass it on. By the time he reached the last page, his tears blurred the ink. There, in her soft handwriting, were the words. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Don't mourn me. Live for me. Feed someone hungry. Smile at someone broken. Pass on the kindness you received. That's how I'll live on. Ethan pressed the notebook to his chest and cried like he hadn't in years. That day, something in him transformed. The man who once had nothing now had a mission. Months passed. The same streetlight that had witnessed his despair now illuminated something new, a small cart with a hand-painted sign, Grace's Table, free meals, free hope. Every evening, Ethan served warm food to the homeless, the lost, and the forgotten. Sometimes he told them about a woman named Grace who changed his life. Sometimes he just listened, offering the same silent compassion she once gave him. He began volunteering at shelters, speaking at small gatherings, sharing her story. People started donating, helping him grow the mission. Slowly, a ripple of kindness spread through the city, one meal, one smile, one heart at a time. And though Grace was gone, Ethan often felt her presence, in the laughter of those he helped, in the quiet peace that came each night, in the faint whisper of rain against the window. She had saved his life, and in return, he had found a way to keep her alive forever. Sparkling heart, if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to MJ Kindness Moments. Let's keep Grace's message alive, one act of kindness at a time. Sparkling heart. And before you go, Sparkles, comment below Sparkles and tell us, have you ever met someone whose kindness changed your life? Because sometimes, it only takes one heart to heal another.